The Arab-Israel conflict is one of the longest-running and most deeply rooted conflicts in modern history. It has shaped geopolitics, fueled tensions across the Middle East, and remains a central issue in global diplomacy. But how did this conflict begin? What are its historical roots, key events, and where does it stand today? Let's explore this complex history together, objectively and comprehensively. The seeds of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict were sown during World War I. In 1917, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration, promising support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine, despite the fact that the land was already home to an Arab majority. This declaration was made while Britain was still fighting the Ottoman Empire and had also made conflicting promises to the Arab population. Following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, Britain took control of Palestine under a League of Nations mandate. During this period, Jewish immigration had increased dramatically, particularly with the rise of Nazism in Europe. By 1947, the Jewish population had grown from 6% in 1918 to 33%. Palestinians saw this demographic shift as a direct threat, leading to protests and violent confrontations, including the Palestinian Revolt of 1936 to 1939. In 1947, the United Nations proposed dividing Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, allocating 56% of the land to Jews despite them making up only one-third of the population. The plan was accepted by Jewish leaders but rejected by Arab nations and Palestinian leaders who saw it as unfair. On May 14, 1948, Israel declared independence. The next day, neighboring Arab states, including Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, declared war. What followed was a full-scale war that resulted in Israel's victory and the forced displacement of over 750,000 Palestinians. This tragic event is known as the Nakba or catastrophe, as Palestinian families were forced from their homes, creating a refugee crisis that continues to this day. In 1967, tensions exploded once again in the Six-Day War. Israel, in a preemptive strike, captured vast territories including the West Bank, Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, and the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights. This war drastically altered the regional landscape, bringing the entire Palestinian population under Israeli occupation. The international community condemned the occupation, but Israel continued to expand settlements in the captured territories. In 1993, after decades of bloodshed, Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Organization signed the Oslo Accords, granting limited Palestinian self-rule in parts of the West Bank and Gaza. However, issues like the status of Jerusalem, Israeli settlements, and the return of refugees remain unresolved. The assassination of the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin in 1995 continued violence led to the failure of peace process. By 2000, frustration boiled over into the Second Intifada, a Palestinian uprising that saw deadly clashes, suicide bombings, and harsh Israeli military responses. Over 4,000 Palestinians and 1,000 Israeli died in this period, further deepening divisions. In 2007, Hamas, a Palestinian militant group, took control of Gaza after winning elections. Israel responded with a full blockade, restricting the movement of goods, food, and medical supplies. Since then, several wars and military operations have taken place between Israel and Hamas, leading to the immense destruction in Gaza. Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem continues to expand, despite being considered illegal under international law. With nearly 700,000 settlers now living in the West Bank, many experts argue that the possibility of a two-state solution is becoming increasingly difficult. In October 2023, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel, killing over 1,200 people. In response, Israel launched a massive military operation in Gaza, killing nearly 15,000 people, including thousands of women and children. The conflict has triggered global protests and debates over Israel's actions, the right to self-defense, and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The world remains divided. Western countries like the US and UK have largely supported Israel, while nations like Turkey and South Africa have condemned Israeli actions, calling for an immediate ceasefire. Meanwhile, the UN continues to push for a diplomatic solution, but peace remains elusive. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not just a territorial dispute, it's a struggle over history, identity, and survival. Can a two-state solution still work? Will future generations find a path to peace? Only time will tell. Until then, this remains one of the most pressing and heartbreaking conflicts of our time. A shocking development in the Israel-Palestine crisis, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has openly begged the US President Donald Trump's plan to take over Gaza and displace its 2 million Palestinian residents. But what exactly does this plan entail, and why is it sparking global outrage? Netanyahu has called Donald Trump the greatest friend Israel has ever had in White House. Now, reports indicate that the two are working in full cooperation on what they call a bold vision for Gaza's future. But what does this vision really mean? Trump's plan proposes the removal of Palestinians from Gaza and their resettlement elsewhere, a move that human rights groups and legal experts describe as ethnic cleansing and clear violation of international law. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, on his first Middle East tour, has defended the plan, calling it a courageous alternative to the tired ideas of the past. But while Washington rallies behind Israel, global opposition is growing. The UN and Arab leaders have strongly condemned the proposal, warning that forced displacement from occupied territory is illegal under international law. Yet Netanyahu remains determined, insisting that neither Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority will be allowed to govern Gaza. At the same time, the US has shipped a new batch of powerful Mk-84 bombs to Israel. With Gaza already in ruins, what does this signal for the future? With over 48,000 Palestinians killed and most of Gaza in rubble, the world is watching. Is this Trump and Netanyahu's vision for the region? What do you think about the controversial plan? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video informative, subscribe to the Knowledge Compass for more in-depth geopolitical analysis. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think is the future of this conflict?